Good afternoon on what is a cold, bright and sunny day. It is Tuesday, 17th of January, and I'm in the reading nook with a nice hot cup of tea. And there, a parcel to unbox. Now this has obviously come from drivethrurpg.com. Let's get my fingers in there. Oh, they really do glue these down hard. And what I have here is Wyvern Songs, a fantasy role-playing game adventure anthology for Old School Essentials. Now, if you've not seen it, Old School Essentials is an updating and representation and reorganisation of what is known as Dungeons and Dragons BX. It's basic Dungeons and Dragons. It's the version of Dungeons and Dragons that came out 1980, 1981 by Tom Moldvay and Stephen R. Marsh, and has been redesigned and represented, as I say, by Necrotic Gnome, and it's really very popular right now as retro clones go. I mean, you know, retro clone games come in, get sort of like popularity, you know, goes up and down. It's really popular, and it's really if you've played basic Dungeons and Dragons, it's a really nice iteration of it. So this is an anthology of scenarios for that game. So the Wyvern Calls, 4-year Old School Essentials role-playing game with 4 new tales of weirdness and whimsy. These location based high fantasy mini modules fit easily into an ongoing campaign, or combine them all into an epic sandbox. Requires Old School Essentials, classic fantasy, or advanced fantasy. Now, classic fantasy, it's really differentiated between how you do your race and class. In basic or standard classic Old School Essentials, it's race as a class, so you play an elf or a halfling or a dwarf. In advanced fantasy, then you can do the you can choose a race and a class and combine the two. Anyway, so it's quite simple as that. You open up this and this book contains 4 adventures, and essentially really simple. There's the introduction, no messing about, straight into the adventures themselves. So you've got the Sinister Secret Peacock Point, Fabian's Atelier, so the Singing Stones, the Dreaming Caldera, and you've got some bonus material at the end. And this is all presented in, you know, organised according to essentially colour by any means. Essentially, you know, each adventure has one particular colour. And this is a Sinister Secret Peacock Point, is a dungeon crawl adventure for first level characters. There we go. Peacock and the map of the dungeon itself, quite simple and straightforward. A location, so you've got a lighthouse. You're going to be involved in encountering skunk goblins, so you're going to smell even more than usual. And the other thing it does is taking a note out of the classic Old School Essentials scenarios from Necrotic Gnome itself, is it's taking excerpts from the map and putting on the page where their descriptions are. So it's all handy and useful for ease of reference. So yeah, essentially we're going through the purple bit of Sinister Secret Peacock Point. And we get down to the end. There's only 25 locations. Then you've got simple follow-up. You know, where do you go next? Then we have Fabian's Atelier, which is the green, uses the green colour of puzzle dungeon for levels 1 to 3. And that's actually got a proper introduction, a note on puzzle dungeons there, hooks, And then you have, I'm just checking here, oddly, Mab A, Mab B, Fabian's Atlia. I don't know whether that's a spelling mistake or there is a Map A somewhere, and it's set on an island. And it kind of looks like the similar sort of thing you get with, you know, oh, there's something going on at the Wizard's Tower. He's missing. Go and investigate. And here we have actual illustrations of the locations themselves. This is actually a bit more than you might ordinarily get with a dungeon of this type. And it's, again, heavily location based, and you've got quite extensive descriptions of the individual locations within the atelier or atelier. Simple map, proper, basically sort of like illustration of what the actual location looks like, and you know, which you can take and show to your players. And again, it's doing that same thing with the maps down there. And then this is a separate map, different. I mean, other location, not one included earlier. So it may well be an error with the spelling, with the spelling and the naming of the maps. We get down to the end, and again we've got the simple follow-up. You know, what happens next, and then we have the Singing Stones, which is a wilderness adventure for characters levels 3 to 5, and uses yellow and gold, or golden to orange as its colours. So a nice sense of wilderness here, openness there to the adventure, to the start. And we have a really decent map of the region done in 3D. So it's as much a map as a picture of the region. And these essentially again is taking excerpts from that picture and using them to mark off particular locations. And it's certainly using sort of like the artwork is kind of goofy in places like this, but that's fine. You know, that's all within sort of like the tone and sensibility you get sometimes with old school essentials, with Dungeons and Dragons Adventure. And then we have a smaller map of individual location as you're going through. Grand cathedral to explore, basically great natural cathedral, I'm guessing. So it's a vast, noisy cave. And a weird monster. Before again we have not so much a follow-up section as expanding the adventure section here. So you know, what happens next? What can you do with this area? And we have the Dreaming Caldera, an adventure for levels 5 to 6. So caldera means this caldera is you know, the basin of an extinct volcano, which is always great for an adventure because you know it's always generally in an isolated place. Player characters are going to climb up the side of the volcano to get to it, and then go down into the caldera. And it's usually its own little wilderness adventure, and people have been using that kind of setup for you know, over and over. It's quite a common one. You know, I've seen it in the pages of the Beholder for a fanzine from the 80s. Appears in a traveller scenario from Wyvern Publishing, and so on. So we have, let's have a look. It's got a picture of the volcano with its caldera at the top there. And a summary in the background and how you approach the volcano, whether taking the eastern trail or the western trail, and you've got encounter tables for each. It's almost a shame there, though, essentially that you're kind of going, we've got the eastern trail and the western trail. You know, the player's going to take one route, and you sort of like, okay, you take the western route. You can't use that in this game unless the players exit that way. And the other odd thing about calderas is that they're generally in volcanoes which are dormant or extinct, and that generally doesn't actually in gaming. It's more a case of, yes, they only appear to be dormant or extinct, it's quite common for them to go, go kaboom and erupt. So we get to the summit, and you've got the dungeon levels inside the caldera, and there we have it. So basically a 2-level dungeon there, quite short. You're going to get several sessions of play out of that. Even once that's after you've sort of like made your way to the top. We have excerpts from the map, different encounters and so on, different room descriptions, workshops, jails, a pump room. Even a feather storage, probably good reasons. And we've got a secret badger folk tunnels. Yes, if you can't improve a dungeon with the presence of otters, badgers are a good option. But then any mustelids are always good. So whether you want, I'm totally good with weasels too. And even, since you've got blood banks, acid pools, Neanderthal rock mines. So there's quite a lot in here, and I think these are really good little dungeons to say for, and a weird feathery chaos god at the end. And then, and then options for expanding the dungeon, and follow up, followed by bonus material. So Appendix A is we have the Mechator. So, want a robotic centaur? There you go, Mechator. Adventurers guilds and their possible benefits. The village of Nanlet. So little adventure location. Interesting thing. I don't know what the association with the coffins, but any adventure, it's asking what's in the coffins could be interesting. Village locales and so on. And the Grand Duchy of Bozon. So you've got a little wilderness, location there as well, which the player character can explore. Your dungeon master can put this into, her game, and drop these adventures into that location and so on. And then you've actually got a table there of, which are adventure recommendations and where to place them. And this lists not just the adventures in this book, but the official adventures from Necrotic Gnome as well. That's really fantastic. Really nice additions. So yeah, I'm really impressed by that. Just through on the read through, Wyvern Songs, fantastic little anthology of adventures for old school essentials. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, where you'll see me with a box containing a book or game, which I'll unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge, all of course accompanied by a nice hot cup of tea, then please do hit the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching another unboxing in the Nook. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.